What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode. Coach Joe here with Heartletics.com, and I'm really excited to dive in and just teach you a little bit more about how calories work within the body, but also do a deep dive specifically for your body type to help you reaching your goals. Let's dive in. So remember, my mission is to make this the easiest thing possible for you to understand how calories work within the body. I don't want this to be overcomplicated at all. I know for a fact there's so many different things that you hear out there. Calories in versus calories out. There's a million and two different diets. There's all these different eating strategies, everything like that. The main mission, just so you understand, and hopefully you understand by now, is to just make it easy for you to understand how to create better habits within yourself. Now, calories is obviously, one of the 7 essential fat loss habits that we love to go over at Heartletics with our members. Right? Because that's the foundation. That's kind of like the building block. You need to understand how it works, but at the same time, you got to understand that this is not hard. It's not rocket science. It's very simple. It's just at the end of the day, I think that we typically try to make things harder for ourselves. We think it has to be complicated when it's really not. And that's why I really hope that after today's, presentation, you have a really good understanding about how easy this is to just apply it to your own lifestyle, create better habits for yourself, and become healthier. Here's what we're going to be going over today. We're going to be going over just a simple overview of what calories are, how it works within our bodies, but mainly we're going to be diving into how calories change body composition, meaning, you can gain weight based on your calorie consumption. You can lose weight based on your calorie consumption, and we're going to do a deep dive into how that affects our bodies. Then what we're really going to go over is, the biggest mistakes that people make. And hands down, you probably have heard this numerous of times, especially on the internet. But trust me, really hope that you get a better understanding about how calories work so you don't have to make these mistakes, because a lot of people do. I'm going to be teaching you a specific calorie calculation that you can obviously use to help you when it comes to just giving you good guidelines when it comes to being on the pathway for you to have success at reaching your goals. And then lastly, we're going to be going over some tips on how to track things better, because at the end of the day, I'm sure you're probably wondering, right? Like, okay, this is great. How do I track this? How do I hold myself accountable? How do I ensure that, I'm on the right pathway? So we're going to be going over just that. What even is calories? Well, if you remember back when we talked about metabolism and how, calories is the food. It's your macronutrients, your micronutrients, so like your proteins, your carbs, your fats, your vitamins, your minerals, different aspects of that, right? The food that we're consuming. That has a big aspect when it comes to just energy. That's what it is, right? We're consuming food, we're getting more energy, plain and simple. And so if you ever take a look at anything that you buy at the grocery store, it's going to have this nutritional facts label that's typically on the back. And it's going to be telling you the serving size, and based upon that serving size, how many calories are in there. But you can also take a look and kind of see that, hey, for fats, right, it says 8 grams. For carbohydrates, right, there's 37 grams. And then protein, there's 3 grams in here. So you can kind of take a look and get a better understanding of, in terms of how many different types of macronutrients, and obviously the grams, what's that going to equal towards how many calories is actually in that set, food that you're consuming. If you also remember when we talked about metabolism, I mentioned about the thermic effect of food and how certain foods that you're consuming, there's different, energy, and obviously just the breakdown in terms of, protein being higher up on the thermic effect of food as opposed to something like fats being lower. Well, at the same time, right, there's different calorie ranges as well. So carbohydrates and protein, 1 gram is actually equal to 4 calories, as opposed to fats, where 1 gram of fat is equal to 9 calories. So remember, the nutritional fact label that you'll see at the back of, anything that you buy at a grocery store, all those different grams for the different macronutrients, it's all equal to the total calories per that serving size. But remember, if you're consuming all of these, calories, consuming all of this different types of foods, consuming all of this energy, but the energy is not going out, that's where obviously we're going to be, gaining weight. So you can see that it's a balance. It's simply a balance of energy. And remember, right? calories in versus calories out. You'll hear about that everywhere. Yes, it makes sense. It does. But at the same time, I really want you to understand this, that you can also at the same time be not eating enough of the right foods. And we'll just leave it at that, make it very simple. And if you're not eating enough of the right foods, well, guess what? You could be losing weight. And yes, that weight loss could be losing muscle because your metabolism is slowing down. So what does that mean? Well, your body fat's increasing. So it's like, don't just understand and focus so much on weight loss. And that's like the biggest thing that I want you to understand about calories. Because at the same time, you need them. Food equals fuel. And if you think about a car, right? If let's say you're not putting in enough gasoline and you're just riding around, just miles and miles and miles, and you're never stopping to get gas, what's going to happen to your car if you're eventually just running around on fumes? It's going to break down. And realistically, that's what happens within the body. We're not getting enough food in the system. What happens? We lose our muscle, so we lose our fuel. And then what happens? We break down. We increase our body fat. So as we go through the remainder of this presentation, I want you to keep in mind, fat loss is truly the name of the game on what you should be after, okay? Not weight loss. And really understand that there is a big difference, which I'm going to go over next. So remember, weight loss and fat loss are two different things, okay? If you're not eating enough food, right? You're not eating enough calories. Remember, calories in versus calories out. Well, guess what? If you're not eating enough calories, you could be losing your muscle. And remember, that's technically, you will see the number on the scale go down. So you might be thinking like, oh man, this is great. I'm on this extreme calorie diet, or I'm cutting out my different, macronutrients or whatever the case may be, and I'm seeing the number on the scale go down. But I hate to be their bad news, but it's just true. If you're not eating enough of the right foods, you could be losing your muscle. So that weight loss is loss of muscle, which eventually leads to having a slow metabolism, which eventually leads to you increasing your body fat. That's not what you want. That's where you're going to start, having these just health concerns. Higher body fat leads to obviously, lacking energy, lacking confidence. Like I'm sure if somebody's 50% body fat, they're not liking the way that they look. At the same time, health concerns, right? In terms of high blood pressure, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, and it's just like, it makes things uncomfortable for yourself. So it's like when it comes down to doing things smart, doing things sustainably for your overall lifestyle, I can't stress this enough. Make sure you're doing things properly. Don't just try to cut corners and think, oh, I'm just not going to eat anything. I'm just going to do this fasting approach, whatever the case may be, because it could be potentially doing a lot more harm than good for you, And you might be thinking, well, so what are these other things out there, right? Like maybe I could lose weight by, when I do keto, right? True. You will lose weight when you cut out your carbs and if you do keto, But as you can see from this image that, also weight loss is loss of muscle and water. So it's like, think about it like this, okay? And this is the best analogy that I want to just give to you. And do a quick Google search, right? What happens when you drop your phone in, let's say, a pool, or you drop it in the toilet, whatever the case may be? Go to Google, right? It's going to say, hey, take your phone, put it in a bowl of rice. That rice is going to extract the water, right, out of the phone, and it's going to start working properly again. So it's like, you got to understand that, and you will, right, as we progress and move more towards when we start talking about, different macronutrients, you will learn that, hey, carbohydrates within the body store water, stores it as glycogen within the muscles, and you need that. You do. That helps out with energy, that helps out with muscle recovery, that helps out with better sleep, that helps out with better testosterone, and that's why we always recommend, hey, don't just cut out your carbs just because you see the number on the scale go down. Like, one, you're just cutting out the water, so it's not even real true fat loss, and two, it's not doing anything for you that's going to be an added benefit. And it's probably only making things harder for you because it's teaching you that, hey, there's good foods out there and bad foods out there. So it's hurting you out in the long run. And especially if it's not sustainable, then what's the point of doing it? That's why at Heartletics, we only focus when it comes to really helping somebody out with the physical habits, these 7 essential, fat loss habits that we go over. when it comes down to, reaching your goals, your health and fitness goals, you should be focusing on losing body fat. The body fat, that's what you want to lose. That's what's going to make you look better. That's what's going to make you feel better. That's what's going to really make a big difference in terms of just everything about the quality of your life. You'll feel better. You'll feel more energized. You'll feel more confident. Like there's just something about it. The everything just looks a lot better in life when you're just physically in shape, and people even notice that about you. They can see if somebody's in shape, man, that person obviously probably has a lot more discipline. They probably have better habits that they created for themselves, and that's great that they can stick with that long term, and you start becoming that inspiration for others as well. So it's just like, life's great when you focus on, hey, how do I create the right habits for me to reach my health and fitness goals, but most importantly, sustain that in a way where it makes sense for your lifestyle, and obviously it makes sense for, you being on the pathway to having success at reaching your goals. I mean, take a look at this image right here. You can clearly see that, there's good habits and there's bad habits out there. I'm not saying I'm strict at all. I mean, I'm the type of guy that I love having pizza. I love having beer. I love having my donuts, right? Like, I don't cut anything out, but yet I maintain anywhere from 10% to 15% body fat all year round. And I'm not saying that to brag or boast by any means. I mean, I literally follow through with everything that we coach and teach our members at Heartletics. There's 7 essential fat loss habits, and there's 7 essential mindset habits. And I just focus each and every day, hey, how can I fill up my cup? How can I follow through just doing these habits? So for one example, one of the habits is, trying your best to get in enough water, right? Your hydration. Okay, so it's simple for me. How can I, take a big gallon jug and just make sure I try my best to consume it, right? Simple things like that. I try not to overcomplicate anything, because when you can focus on the habits, it's easier to stick with long term. So for you, for example, like when it comes down to, your calorie ranges and, your overall health and fitness goals, focus on creating better habits for yourself. Focus on creating fat loss habits for yourself, not weight loss habits for yourself. Because remember, somebody could be, let's say, 200 pounds and they're at 10% body fat, right? They look all chiseled, they have abs, they have muscles, they're a lot happier, they're that inspiration. And somebody could weigh exactly the same, 200 pounds, and be 40% body fat. This individual has the man boobs, the beer belly or the muffin top or spare belly, right? Spare tire. Let's say they have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, maybe even type 2 diabetes, lacking confidence, the whole 9 yards. Same weight, they're both 200 pounds, 2 different quality of, just life, right? 2 different just living qualities, because one person decided to create better habits for themselves and just decide, hey, I'm going to be disciplined, I'm going to stick with doing these habits, versus this person over here that they didn't really prioritize their health. They didn't care about making any changes. They didn't care about making any habits. And that's why it's like, hey, every single day you have a choice. You can decide to feed the good wolf or decide to feed the bad wolf. And I'm not saying, once again, you need to be perfect each and every day, like be very strict on your good habits and be very strict on, feeding the good wolf. No. Like, even myself, at times, like I fall, I miss up on things, but it's okay. It's about knowing, right, how to have grace for yourself, knowing how to get right back on track, having obviously the right people in your corner and supporting you. And that's why, the winner's circle at Heartletics, right, the wolf pack, the community group, this is a huge thing as to what makes somebody stick with it long term and be consistent at finally having success at reaching their health and fitness goals. And the reason I went over all that with you is because I really want you to understand that, hey, you should be focusing on creating better habits for yourself to lose body fat, okay? That's why this image right here is amazing. And for the past several years, after helping out thousands of different, individuals reaching their health and fitness goals, it all was a big, huge factor and a big, huge just aha awakening for them to what led to them having success by them learning this, that you're going to learn right here. Honestly, like, this is very simple, and take this to the grave, right? Keep this for the rest of your life and teach this to everybody and whoever that you come in contact with. Because when you can understand how calories work as simple as this within your body, you will have massive success at reaching your health and fitness goals. Okay, so for starters, if somebody wants to maintain their weight, let's just use, for example, a glass, just like this image right here. And let's just say the middle of the glass, that's somebody's, let's say, maintenance calories, meaning they're maintaining their weight, okay? And then at the very top of the glass, let's just say that's to gain body fat, right? So if, let's say, you're pouring in enough water or enough liquids into this glass and it spills over, you're adding body fat, okay? Now at the very bottom of the glass, let's just call that the danger zone, okay? So hear me out. Let's just replace, the liquids in the glass for the sake of calories, as in food consumption, okay? So if you're eating X amount of food, right, on a regular basis, and you're not gaining weight nor losing weight, you're at your, let's say, your maintenance calories. And I hope that makes sense, because that means you're at the middle of the glass right there as this image shows. You do have some wiggle room, because it's not like all of a sudden you're here at, your maintenance calories and all of a sudden you have 50 extra calories and boom, you gain body fat. Like, no, you have wiggle room, And obviously, we're just talking overall calories here, because depending on if you're eating calories that's proteins and carbs, right, you may be putting on muscle. You may not even, be putting on any body fat at all, which is a great sign. So remember, we're just talking overall calories here. We're making it simple. But you do have some wiggle room. So when it comes to the same analogy of, hey, guess what? If, let's say, we're, putting in way too much liquids into this cup, it's going to eventually, spill over and, overflow. It's the same way on how it works within your body with calories. If you're eating way too much, then guess what? It will eventually spill over and cause you to gain body fat. But here's the thing, and this is the biggest mistake, all right? This is what everybody makes. Over 50% of the U.S. population is considered overweight or just obese. Why? It's not because they're eating way too much. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news once again, because I know you keep on hearing calories in versus calories out. But I bet you anything, it's not because of the food consumption why you're overweight, why you're putting on body fat. I bet you anything, it's because you're under eating. They don't teach you this online, right? But you got to understand, remember, if you're not putting in enough fuel into the car, into the vehicle, it's going to run on fumes. It's going to eventually break down. You're going to lose your muscle. You will then increase your body fat by slowing down your metabolic rate. Okay, I don't want that to happen to you. That's why the very bottom of the glass, it's the danger zone. The problem and the biggest mistake that most people face is they're not putting in enough calories. That's why the majority of the people that join our coaching program, right in the very beginning stages, they feel full, they feel bloated, they're having a hard time sticking within their certain calorie range that we gave them. They have a certain time hitting their protein and hitting their, macronutrient goals that we gave them. Why? Well, guess what? If they're overeating way back in the day for the past, several years and created bad habits from overeating, you would realistically think that, hey, if somebody's been overeating and they're way overweight, if we gave somebody this amount of calories, that's probably like a big calorie deficit, which means that should be easy for them to hit. But they're not hitting those numbers. And if they're having a hard time hitting those numbers, that means realistically they've been in a danger zone of not eating enough calories for a very, very long time. And that's what slowed down their metabolism. And that's what makes it difficult now for them to, repair and boost right back up their metabolic rate so they can actually feel full, actually feel, like, man, I can eat this and feel good. I feel energized rather than full, rather than bloated. So it's like, don't make the same mistakes that literally over 50% of the U.S. population continues to make. And that's not eating enough. That's not having the understanding that, hey, food equals fuel. That's why we always say there's no such thing as good foods versus bad foods. It's what is the food that's going to be the proper fuel to help you have success at reaching your goals. That's it. I'm somebody that fits in, the beer, the donuts, the cheesecake, the pizza, the pasta, and I'm sitting here 10%, 15% body fat all year round. Why? Well, I have an understanding on how it works within the body, and I just make sure that I follow through with my habits each and every day, right? And once again, I have days where I fall, but I get right back on track the following day when I do. It's that simple. So if you want to learn how to master your health and fitness goals, you first and foremost need to understand, right? That's why we talk about, the mindset habits, about acquiring more knowledge, acquiring just more, understanding, different things like this. And why you're here watching this video, this is great because you're learning, once again, how this all works and how it's easy. So easy that you can easily apply it to your lifestyle. And instead of saying like, oh man, I gotta be like religiously strict on my calories and eat like this, it's like, no, you can understand, hey, just how to have overall better habits for yourself. That's it, right? We're giving you ranges here for success, keep you in terms of creating just long-term habits. That's it. Simple. So what are these calorie ranges that's going to lead to long-term success for you at reaching your health and fitness goals? In my opinion, okay, there's a bunch of different calorie ranges you can find out there. There's a bunch of different calorie calculators you can find. There's different formulas you can use. There's hundreds of them, okay? In my opinion, this one gives you flexibility. And this one also gives you guidance because, hey, there might be certain times of your life where, let's say, I don't know, you want to just put on some muscle. You want to get bigger. Maybe you want to go on a reverse diet or whatever the case may be. Like, you want to make some changes. And maybe there's other areas of your life where you're just happy. Like that's where I'm at right now in my stage, right? I just got off of a little, cut. I'm not trying to gain weight in terms of muscle. I got, the holidays are around the corner. So I just like maintaining my weight right here. I'm comfortable. I'm happy. I get to fit in my favorite foods. I'm good. I'm content right now. But, after the holidays, I want to, cut down a little more body fat. So that's where obviously you take a look at, okay, what works best for you in terms of these ranges, but also your lifestyle, the flexibility of, okay, hey, what am I feeling like doing for this next journey, of my health and fitness goals? So let's say you want to lose weight. Well, a simple formula that you can use is by taking your body weight, multiplying it by just depending on how aggressive you want that weight loss to be, because at the end of the day, I'm somebody that I don't like to cut out my calories at all. Once again, I like my donuts. I like my pizza, right? So it's like, I like to have flexibility. So I can't stress that enough that at the end of the day, like you need to find out what truly works for you in terms of your lifestyle because that's what's going to lead to long-term success. But I would say that if you're somebody that wants to go on an aggressive weight loss plan, hey, take your body weight and multiply it by 8. That's going to give you a very low calorie range. Just keep that in mind, right? Keep that in mind. All the way up to, let's say, 11. So for the example that I used is, let's say somebody is 220 pounds and they went ahead and took their body weight and they multiplied it, right, by, let's just say 9. That gave them, 1,980 calories. And that's going to, once again, give them a good range when it comes to losing weight. At maintenance, right, remember, there's a lot of flexibility here. I don't want you to think like, oh, somebody's maintenance calories is 2,500 and if they're at 2,400, they're in a deficit, and somebody's at 2,600, right, 100 calories above, they're in a surplus. There's flexibility, okay? So I would say for, maintaining your weight, take your body weight, multiply it anywhere from 12 to 15. So if somebody is, let's say, again, 220 pounds, they take that, they multiply that by 13. That's going to give them 2,860 calories as, once again, just some wiggle room. And if somebody wants to gain some weight, they would take their body weight, multiply it by 16 all the way up to 20. And for that, 220 pounds, once again, taking that, multiplying by 18, you're looking about 3,960 calories. This range, right, especially if your metabolism is in a healthy range, I like to say that too. If your metabolism is good, it's healthy, then guess what? Like these ranges, you're golden. Just follow through with this depending on, once again, the season of life that you're in, depending on your goals. And sure enough, like this is going to give you a lot of extra guidance when it comes to knowing you're on the right track. Now, when it comes to tracking calories, because obviously think about it, like you're putting food in your body. I'm sure you want to monitor that so that way you can, hold yourself accountable. You have really two different options here. The first option is just the manual method, the good old pen and paper. you're weighing your foods, you're writing down everything, you're tracking, all your calories, maybe manually. You're weighing yourself daily at the same time, just to make sure that, hey, just getting your trends. And I would say that after doing that for, a couple weeks, take those numbers that you have, multiply them, and then, or add them all together and then, divide them by 7 to get, a weekly average. And then you can start seeing your trends through there. But that's tedious, right? Think about it, right? That is something you can obviously do, right? It's not hard at all. And it actually works out very, very well. Just in terms of like tracking the food that you're consuming, getting accurate with it, tracking your weight as well each and every day. And then you just add those numbers up at the end of the week, right? Divide that by 7. You got your average. Take a look at to see, okay, am I gaining weight? Am I losing weight? What are my numbers? Like, you can do that. But you can also at the same time make things a little bit easier for you and just download an app, right? There's several different apps out there. We use just the Heartletics coaching app. That's how we coach our members through helping them create sustainable habits, holding them accountable. We have obviously the community group in there. But what's nice about that is, with this app being all habit-based and really having an emphasis on just health and fitness, is that, with our members, we give them a few different varieties in terms of how to make things easier for them. For the simple fact of they can track and log all their food. They can find anything just by typing it in, and the database is massive. But also, if let's say they go to the grocery store, they can simply just, use our app, click on the little barcode scanner, scan in, right, that food, and boom, it's instantly populated into their database. And like I said, it's simple things like that when it comes to make things easier with creating better habits. So that way somebody can be consistent. We get it down to where our members, they go through their discovery tab, they go through their personalized meal plans, they go through, once again, just learning the flexibility of how to eat properly for their body type and goals. And then they'll start saving, creating different meals on the app as far as like their unique database, to where now these guys are playing like food Tetris. They wake up in the morning, they have like their typically, I have, 5, 6 different, typical breakfast options, snack options, dinners, lunches, etc. To where these guys got it down pretty simple. Hey, I'm going to wake up. I know I'm going to have these as far as hitting these, numbers on the app. Maybe that's like a protein coffee, protein cereal, or whatever the case may be. And then maybe for dinner, they have a little bit more extra flexibility because they try to focus on hitting their protein goal early so they can fit in more calories to where, hey, they want to have a beer or they want to have some pizza in the evening time, whatever the case may be. But they get it down. They use the app to just make it very seamless and easy for them, where it's a habit. They can easily hit their goals, hit their numbers, and obviously us as coaches, they, obviously the members, can learn about their trends and monitor everything, but at the same time, us as coaches, we can do the same, right? That's where we educate them on their check-ins. That's where we educate them on our coaching calls. That's where we educate them and teaching them specifically on when and how to make adjustments. That way they don't have to worry about and stress about, hey, am I doing the right things and I'm not progressing, whatever the case may be. For example, like a member, let's say it's been 2-3 weeks, they're not losing any weight, right? So they might be worried. They're like, oh man, I should be losing weight. I should be seeing some progress. But a coach could be saying like, oh yeah, but take a look at this. Your weight staying the same, your body fat dropped. And since we're, uploading our progress photos every week, take a look at your photos before and after. It's like you can already see like your stomach and your midsection, right? It's decreasing, it's getting smaller. And that right there could be that sense of support and inspiration and encouragement for that member to keep them on track, to let him know that they're doing all the right things. Because who knows, maybe that individual, right? Remember, if they're doing everything on their own, if they weren't, checking in, they're going to be thinking like, oh, I'm not progressing here. I'm not doing the right things. I should be doing this and da-da-da-da. Compared to a coach seeing and giving them the overview. And that's like the importance of, accountability. And that's why we focus a lot on that, at Heartletics. Just to recap, we just did a quick overview in terms of the easiest way to understand how calories work within the body. Okay, the overall view, the calories one-on-one. Hey, it's energy, right? You're consuming this food, and if you're consuming way too much of it, you're going to be putting on body fat. But at the same time, if you're not consuming enough, you can still be putting on a body fat because you're going to be losing your muscle. That's going to be slowing down your metabolism. And remember, keep in mind, you should be focusing on fat loss rather than weight loss. I then went into, specifics on how that changes your body composition. And, obviously the biggest mistake that most people are making is not eating enough. So remember, right, it's a mindset shift. And once you have that mindset shift, you're going to have so much more success on your health and fitness goals. And then specific, right, goals in terms of your calories. If, once again, your metabolism is turning and burning, it's already efficient, it's already repaired, it's already, boosting, and it's in the right direction, guess what? You have a healthy metabolism, stick with those calorie ranges. Just going off of the different, seasons of life, depending on that you're in, right? Whether it's the holidays or maybe you want to lose a little bit more body fat for the summer or whatever the case may be, use those calorie ranges if your metabolism is healthy. And then the last is obviously tips for tracking. Once again, you can get away with doing the manual method on the pen and paper, and that does work, right? Hands down, it does. You just have to put a little bit more extra time and effort into making sure that you're doing things properly. Other specific trends, but at the same time, when you use the app, it just makes things a little bit easier in terms of accountability, taking out some of the guesswork from there. Hopefully you guys got a lot of value from today's episode, and just keep in mind that when it comes to understanding calories and anything with nutrition, it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be hard. At the end of the day, we always like to say at Heartletics that consistency is the name of the game. Consistency is key. As long as you show up each and every day, you have that 1% better mentality, right? Where each and every day you're just trying to become 1% better than who you were yesterday. You will have success at reaching your goals. So sure, you may have one bad day or a few bad days, whatever the case may be, with high calories or maybe even low calories. It's okay. Just, wipe off the dirt off your shoulders, right? Get right back on the horse the following day and get right back to track. And that's it. And I promise you, if you have that mindset, you don't give up, you will have success at reaching your goals.